Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Eric. If you're new, please subscribe. On today's video, we're going to be installing an aftermarket oil cooler on my Evo 10. So I'm not exactly sure when it happened, but the OEM oil cooler is leaking oil from the oil lines. So this was a great opportunity to pick up an aftermarket one, especially because I'm going to be racing it. So having that added capacity is going to be great. Now, I've done a little bit of research on these, and on my Evo 9, I had a C-Trab oil cooler, and I believe it was a kit from MAP. So I decided to go with the same company, and I ended up getting the MAP Rev 2 oil cooler kit. Now, let's get to unboxing this thing. So this kit comes with everything you need. It has the oil cooler, hardware, these amazing brackets that are well constructed, and then also I went with this lightweight line instead of the steel braided line because race car, of course. And then right here we have all the AN fittings that we'll need to install on this hose. In addition to this kit, I picked up one of these wrenches off of Amazon, and I'll have it linked down below. But I highly recommend picking up one of these. It's for the AN fittings, and you don't want to damage the new fittings that you just bought. So definitely pick this up. Next thing we need to do is get the stock oil cooler off the car. So to get this thing off, we're going to remove this shroud and unbolt this bracket, and then on the oil filter housing there is 2 banjo bolts on there that we'll need to undo. So the stock oil cooler is out. I got some advice for you guys. If you're having trouble with those banjo bolts on top of the oil filter housing, what I ended up doing was taking a couple extensions with a wobble on it and run it in between one of the runners for the intake plenum, and then I was able to get it on top of those banjo bolts and break them loose and get them out. Next step on this little project, we need to get those brackets mounted up onto the new oil cooler. Alright, so now that we got the bracket on the oil cooler, we got to build our oil lines. So what we got to do first is measure out the distance from the oil filter housing to the oil cooler, and then we just got to cut our lines and put our fittings on. Off camera, I went ahead and measured all my lines out and put them all together. That's got to be probably the most time consuming part about this project, but it's not that difficult. Just make sure you take your time and do it right. I went ahead also and put the banjo bolts in the oil filter housing, so we're ready to install these hoses into that. Now that we got the lines on the car, we can get to installing the oil cooler onto the vehicle. But before we do that, we need to transfer the old grommets from the old oil cooler onto this one. Now that we have everything secured and bolted down, it's time to prime the engine and get some oil flowing through this thing, and then fire it up and check for leaks. Well, as you see, there's no leaks, so we're good to go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button and be sure to subscribe. Now, I do have to address a leak that's going on with the power steering reservoir. So that's the only puddle that you see under the car. But that's going to be done on my own time, not on camera, because we got to get ready for a track day. Alright, till next time, guys.